Hey, Ishan.
Welcome everyone. This is the SaaSy Talk show by Growthspree, which is a marketing agency B2B SaaS companies. This is the one of the many to come conversations that we're going to be having with people in the SaaS ecosystem, founders, VCs, directors, whatnot. And so today, I am here with someone who has been our oldest client. So it was a very obvious choice for us, when we decided, okay, we're going to start a podcast. It was very obvious for all of us in the team that who's going to be our first guest, and it's none other than Divyesh Patel, the founder and CMO at Gumlet, which is a video hosting platform that helps businesses like Superdry or Simply Learn to deliver a seamless video experience to their customers, of course. Right. So, hi Divyesh, welcome to the SaaSy Talk show. How did you find the name?
Yeah, it's a good name. I think should be catchy.
Yeah, I hope so too. So, Divyesh, before we get into Gumlet and the entire journey that's going to be our objective of the podcast, I want to I have a couple of things in my mind, but at a personal level for you. There are two things specifically. Whenever I've seen you, though it's all been on video calls, I've seen you dress very simple, right? How is your wife allowing this, right? How is she allowing this? Because my wife, I've recently got married. Just in 2 months, I've realized that you can't make decisions on your own. And that's something that I actually admire. I always have admired, the likes of Steve Jobs. Dress simply, don't waste time in those things. Of course, I have not seen you, go out in your social life. I've just seen you, at work. But at least that is, something.
You're partially right. For office wear and everything professional, it's always solid colors
Nice.
that we wear, and then that's something I think even many colleagues at Gumlet do that. It's not me, and that's just it's something which everyone is very comfortable with and just works. Of course, vacation wardrobe is completely different because I'm strictly forbidden to wear the same clothes on vacation. So that is true. But for office and everything, this works. This wardrobe works.
Awesome. Probably with time that happens with me also. I'm allowed to wear what I want when I'm in office. Second bit, again, before we get into Gumlet, whenever I've talked to you, I've seen you very calm and composed, and you're one of probably the sweetest clients that we have had in the past 2.5 years. The people, I'm sure you watch cricket a little bit at least, people talk about Mahendra Singh Dhoni being calm at, very high pressure situations. Of course, that kind of pressure is different, but as a founder, I'm sure you come across situations which have been very high pressure in the journey that you've gone through. How do you first keep that calm and composed outlook even in those situations? If you do, how do you manage that?
See, we try at least to keep this 100% of the time, but I'm pretty sure in practice it's less than that. So, but yeah, I think this is something we have worked with together. And my co-founder, we are naturally very strategic kind of people who have always thought about situation ahead of the time, always thought about various outcomes in any given scenario. So that helps. Another important thing that helps is that never react instantly. That is something very ingrained. No matter what argument, what situation, within colleagues or within us co-founders, we do argue about things a lot of time. It's not that arguments are not there. Otherwise, good outcomes are very difficult to come. So we do argue all the time about things, but whenever there is this underlying thing that never react to something instantly, always let some time pass, think about the whole thing. Maybe you'll find a different perspective or different angle to things, and then react to it. So those are the two things. Always have all the possible range of worst to best scenarios that can happen in mind, so that when it happens, they are not surprised. And second is, no matter what happens, just give it time before reacting to it.
Awesome. We've just started in the 5 minutes. You've, given very, very valuable insight. I'm very excited of what is to come in the next few minutes. Thank you so much for that. So let's move on to Gumlet, right? That's why we are here, and that's how we know each other as well. So let's go back. I think this is 2014, 2015 is when Gumlet, or the initial bits of Gumlet, started putting together. Can you shed some light on the early part of your journey, how you met Aditya, your co-founder and CTO, and how did you guys move from that to current present day?
Yeah, sure. So I would say Gumlet as a business started very recently in 2020, but as you mentioned correctly, the roots of it was sown very early. Goes back well in time. So I met Aditya, while working at a tech company in Ahmedabad of all places, and we become friends because we had a common goal, is that career would always be a tech startup. We always wanted to do tech startup as the way of life, as the career of choice.
And how old were you back then? Like when you had this?
I was still in college. I was still in engineering college. I was
awesome.
So I was doing my computer engineering, and then that time I met Aditya. He had already completed it.
Okay.
So while back then, he's Aditya, who also currently handles tech and product at Gumlet, and he's the CEO. He is this really hacker kind of a person. So he had made this website called Event Viva, which was listing events across the world. You could market your events there, so on and so forth. But at that point in time, where he had to collect different images and display on the events page, there was no good solution for doing that in the PHP language in which he was building the platform. So he built this open source library, which was wrapper on the image processing core functions of the PHP library, to make it really easy for himself to sort of display the image in an optimized manner. And he put it open source because there's no event was the monetization. This was just a side project. And fast forward 2019, when we were looking for an avenue where we could start a tech product built for engineers, by engineers, which would have application across wide variety of domains, not something very narrow or niche. And at that point in time, we noticed that, hey, this library that Aditya has is being downloaded hundreds of thousands of times every month by developers across the world. So it was very clear that, hey, anyone who is developing a website or a mobile app needs to display media files, and that time the images were the big thing, 2019. So we decided to make a product in that domain, and that's how Gumlet started. We started with image optimization, and then many of our customers were like, hey, you solved this image issue for us very nicely. Do something about videos, and based on that feedback, we started with video optimization and whole video platform, which is what we do currently focused on.
Perfect. That's a super story, like a side project, now full-fledged business, funded business. Awesome. So with regards to before I get into how did video optimization come into picture, already image was there, and how do you generally do this kind of a process, defining or deciding the next bit of features probably that need to come in, or what new problems do you need to solve? Let's come to that point where in 2020 probably is when, of course, you put 2019, 2020 is when you would have started looking for funding, right, to raise some funds, right? And you can correct me, of course. Then I think Sequoia Surge happened, right? Around about that time, right? So can you just talk about that journey? How because I'm sure do you come from a business background? Uh, I'm sure you don't come from at least a
Sort of.
startup background back in the days.
We don't have a family business, but being Gujarati, it's been always been close to some business or
That's
other.
always in the plan.
So,
Awesome.
yeah.
So how did you have a mentor who helped you understand, okay, this is the path to take forward, right? At probably accelerator programs like a Surge or a Y Combinator, or how did that thought process happen?
So no, I would say fortunately or unfortunately, the mentor was time itself. So this is a pivot. We started. I and Aditya first started with an AI startup which was making product for e-commerce domain. Uh, Back in 17, 18, 19, and after Flipkart acquisition, the e-commerce market vanished overnight.
Yeah.
And that was the reason why we were looking for something which is not just domain focused, it's something wide across, so that if something happens to one domain, it does not go away overnight. So all of that experience of running building a product, doing early sales, all of those things were there. And I think but we were still bootstrapped in 2019, 2020 when we had launched this product and we had started getting some early sales, early traction in 2020. We were still bootstrapped. We were like 6 people company, and the pandemic hit, and it was a scary time, but fortunately for us, even in that time, our sales were able to function. Our sales was able to function. We were able to, get more customers and grow. And first, actually, Geogenics happened. So we got into the Geogenics program, and this was around the time where Reliance was going big in the startup ecosystem with big acquisitions and funding from big tech companies and all of those things. So I think Geogenics was something that brought us into the limelight. And once we were out of Geogenics, we automatically got in touch with Sequoia Surge. Prachi and Siddhant from the team, and then they were very interested in our product, and that got us a funding. So yeah, I think if I had to pinpoint 2 or 3 things, is that yes, this kind of visibility that an accelerator or any kind of accelerator program can get to your startup is phenomenal. You get access to a lot of new opportunity. You meet a lot of new people who are doing within startup ecosystem day and night. Before that, you probably know only a couple of other startup friends. And once the accelerator happens, your entire life becomes startups. So that's one thing. And the second thing is that another important thing while you get any such limelight or while you are looking for fundraising is to have momentum. So we had this momentum of month-on-month consistent growth, and that made it possible. So it's not necessary. The just getting into limelight for whatever reason is not necessary. Having this momentum of growth is most important thing to get funding.
Awesome. So can you talk a little more about the Geogenics program, like how that happened? Like, as you mentioned, that was first, that's how you got connected with Sequoia Surge, and that journey played through. But for enthusiasts and the new age entrepreneurs that are coming in, I think it is very important to understand how do you take that first step towards probably deciding or on where you want to enter into, what kind of an accelerator, and then like how does the thought process look like, how does the process look like eventually?
See, you can't get into an accelerator and figure out what you will build and how you will grow it.
Right.
for most part.
Right.
It is possible, it's not impossible, but then probably because the accelerators are 3 to 6 months of program, it's possible that by the time you are out of it, you don't have that momentum, and that opportunity of the funding goes away. So I would say that first and foremost, build that product, have that clear idea of the market, get those early revenue, and as soon as you see some traction, then it's good time to start applying to every accelerator that is out there. You can easily make a list. There are a lot more these days, and start applying to them, and wherever your domain plus their cohort focus matches, it will work. So in our case, we got lucky because Geogenics, that cohort, the second cohort was, I guess it was the second cohort in 2020, was focused on SaaS, and we were a SaaS company, and we actually had one of the Reliance subsidiary as a customer. So that was a big aspect in us getting the right to be at the table. So yeah, if you're thinking that, hey, I don't think so pitch alone would get me into an accelerator, do this. Make their alumni customer. Find out who is funding the accelerator. Get their subsidiaries as customers. Those are the things you can do to increase the chances. Another aspect that can be there is that having great angels on your cap table, which we unfortunately didn't have at that point in time. But that is also a huge factor. If you should get connected with industry veterans who have done things that you want to do, pitch them and get them on board with some angel investment or advisory seat in your startup. That will also boost your chances.
Awesome. These are very smart tips that you've put forward. I think not everybody thinks in this direction. This is a pretty, I researching more about the specific relevant accelerator that you want to enter and figuring out, who these people are, who are their, probably partners, vendors that you can onboard to create that sense of credibility. But at the same time, what you're suggesting is that even before you enter an accelerator, there has to be a certain momentum in play so that you don't miss out on as the accelerator program ends, right? So you need to have that. It's the better approach, not necessarily always the way to go forward. It could depend on the kind of product also you're building. It could be a heavy, deep tech kind of product. So you need solid months to create it, and you need to enter these accelerators in order to be able to build that MVP at a solid level.
So if you're building something deep tech or hardware related or something like that, it would first and foremost you would need to be from the industry with the right credibility. That's what makes it. That's a key criteria in you getting any success of other people investing in your company. So that area is that. But you are just someone new straight out of the college, doing a startup. It's better to have customers. It's better to have customer interaction or great angels or both to do this. I would add that we got lucky. We didn't plan to make a Reliance subsidiary a customer and then go to Geogenics. It just happened to us, but we know that played a huge role.
But that looks like a good channel now.
So So if you can plan for it, nothing like it.
Exactly. Like that's what it sounds like a very, very smart play if someone can do that. So networking, I think, would have played a very important role. I think it is probably something that you have now as a day-to-day task, or at least, every day you have to think of, talking to and meeting new people. How important was it in the early days? How did you manage to do that? Was it really important for you, or, again, probably you didn't do that and probably you got lucky, which is, I'm sure, is pretty much possible. So how did networking, because networking is something that, everybody understands that is very important, but because it's a long-term play, it's not every time you're going to come across or talk to people who are going to, where you have a vested interest and you get that return immediately. So, just like an organic channel in, in marketing, right? It takes time, but when it starts to, or whenever it yields that result, it's exponential. So how was it in the early days, and how is it right now for you?
Yeah, so we were, I wouldn't say very good at networking in early days. We had a very limited network, which we had built based on, our previous startup. So that was networks of peers and customers. So we had
Right.
connection with some managers in a few big conglomerates because they really loved what we are doing, and they become mentor, or
Right.
we were friends with fellow startups who are selling to same domain, but it was very limited in early days. However, even that limited network played a huge role. We got
Nice.
one of the way that made it easier for us to get in Geogenics was that a very close friend of ours, Raj Parak, had already passed through that process. They were part of Geogenics a couple of cohorts ago, so they helped us with the right pitch, and the process gave us that confidence that, hey, whatever you are doing is right and enough. But I think our networking bit, or skills, or strategy, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
improved a lot after Sequoia Surge. So Geogenics and Sequoia Surge sort of happened one after another in a year span.
Right.
But post that, it was like having a very close knit founder community at both cohorts, who are not doing exactly same things, but when you speak with them, you realize that, hey, at the end of the day, all kind of startups, whether you are in HR tech, or whether you are in supply chain, or whether you are doing in a cloud business like us, at the end, all startups are doing very similar things. They are solving the same hiring issues. They are solving the same customer acquisition channel issues. They are facing the same market. Yeah. So now it's like this for us. Whenever we plan to do any new initiative, let's say we are launching a competitor comparison Google campaign, or we are launching an ABM, or whatever we are doing in product, in hiring, or in sales, we ask 3 other founders first that, hey, how did you guys do it? And we get that learning. We even have a practice of internal company webinar. So where we invite this industry leaders, or other startup founders, or even managers in other startups who have been there, done that. We record that, how they did it, and keep it as an internal knowledge base. So yeah, networking is very important. It gets you the right access to things that they work, so that your experimentation time goes down. And second, even more importantly, it gives you a confidence, or I would say assurance that, hey, the things you are doing are right things. Just keep at it. Sooner or later you will get to the result, and it's very important for startup founders to know that, hey, what we are doing is right, and it's just a matter of time before we get the result, because the uncertainty is the biggest enemy or stress factor in any startup founder's life.
Right. I completely agree with that. Uh, I think all the clients that we deal with, the outcome that is expected is to be able to build a predictable model so that the uncertainty factor is completely eliminated. So I won't comment on how how it builds down realistically. But yeah, as you mentioned, like I think as you mentioned, like everybody is almost doing the same thing. I think that is also validated with agencies like us, right? Eventually, if you look at our operations, the baseline for the variety of clients that we have are same, right? And then we add a layer on top of it where we understand the business specifically and make changes accordingly, but the base is almost the same. So it actually absolutely makes sense that underlying operational wise, or in terms of processes, in terms of achieving growth, I think everybody is doing the same or less, more or less the same kind of things, right? So again, I'm going to focus a little more on the networking bit now. Probably for you, comparatively at least, it's become easier, right? As you mentioned, you just reach out to three co-founders because you're yourself a very credible founder in the SaaS ecosystem, and you have a network in place right now, right? So comparatively, it's obviously, I think it's easy. Were you comfortable talking to strangers, and specifically knowing that these are big people, right? And obviously there's a factor of nervousness in the early days, but at the same time it's very important. So personally also, like I have not really had a problem talking to people, though obviously internally I also get very nervous when I'm talking to, and I know this is a big person I'm talking to. My co-founder Nilesh has always had this problem, right? Coming from a small town, the culture that he's lived in, he's not that extrovert, though he's become now. But in the early stages of our career, our journey, also he faced a lot of issues. Were you like me, or were you or like somewhat like Nilesh in the early days, and how did you overcome that?
I think I was I would say very much like you.
Awesome.
Because this training, I think I wouldn't have been if not for the MBA. I mean, during the MBA program, we had this kind of training where we had to during the internships and all different projects.
Right.
I was able to do sales from during one project I was salesperson for a west side or some store like that, so I was selling close to normal consumers.
Nice.
Other time it was where I had to call up CSRs of anywhere from Punjab National Bank to IOC to anything to get sponsorship from the event for the event we had, and things in between these two extremes. So yeah, I mean that gave us the confidence and training and all, but I would say it comes with doing it, right? You can't.
Yeah.
I would say that this thing that if you have to do sales and marketing, if you have to grow your startup, it does not matter whether you are wherever you are coming from, whatever your background, whatever your apprehensions, whether you are only there as a tech co-founder or not. None of that matters. You have to be really good at pitching. You have to be able to quickly understand what's the value that other person is looking from a conversation. How can you get someone's interest and attention in whatever you have to say? All of those things are table stakes, right? It's a business thing, right? It's not even it's not even startup specific. So yeah,
I think I agree. I think eventually you have to overcome that fear that you have. Even though I knew, probably you also knew that you are an extrovert and you won't have a problem. That moments of nervousness that do occur to everyone. But you have to overcome that. When it comes to your business, and if you want to achieve something, it does come. But one insight for all the bacha logs, if at all they will be watching, MBA does help. So I also did MBA. Divyeshs has also done MBA. So you do good, some good training out of that degree. So yeah, okay. So moving on, I think I'm going to stick around investment and funding a little bit more, a few more minutes around that with you. Um, 2022, the first couple of quarters, in terms of, in generic, the funding was there, even if I talk specifically about the Indian ecosystem. But from then, we have entered into something, that is called as the funding winter. And even 2020 through 23 so far hasn't really seen any kind of, there is hope, there is always hope, but there's if you still compare the numbers, we still down 50, 60, 70%, right from seed till the larger funding that happen. There is a sense of a downfall, right? And obviously, you have the big factors, your Silicon Valley Bank wala issue, you have your Russia Ukraine war that still is continuing, right? All of these factors play a role. These are on the top layer, I feel, but in the bottom layer, you also see now investments happening where investors see a more sustainable kind of a model. I think the importance to revenue and profitability is now being given more than ever before. So your thoughts on that have, like, for example, we were effective, at least last year, 2 to 3 months, we saw a downfall in the new clients we were onboarding because we could hear that feedback coming in that there is scarcity of funds to hire someone like us, right? Did you feel and have you felt that kind of a scenario so far at Gumlet? And what are your thoughts around what the scenario right now?
Yeah, so I mean, this is definitely widespread. Even I think most SaaS companies have faced stagnation or even churn. People who are growing much more slowly because whole economic activity has slowed down, and it's most biggest impact of that US Federal Reserve rate hikes, which makes the capital more costly, which makes returns more important for the capital. So we are in a capitalist economy. If the capital is going to demand more return, even doesn't matter you are doing a startup, you will have to be more profitable. You'll have to do more with less money, and that's exactly what scenario we are in currently. That everybody, all kind of startups have to do more with less money. The funding goalposts have moved. But I would say that at the same time, 21-22 was an anomaly in the overall scenario. Currently, you might hear that hey, you need 2 million or more for a Series A funding, but I think 2018 was the same. The goalposts were, moved down because of federal rate, zero interest rate regime, where they printed money and the capital was cheap. So growth was the only thing that was important. But now I think the rates are back to the previous levels, so the goalposts are back to where they were, and the profitability is still back. So I don't think so. I would still say at early stage startup, I think what is important is that you are able to get customers profitably. It's never about overall profitability. Nobody is going to ask you to show profit in your P&L at the end of the financial year. But because if you're doing that, you are doing wrong. Because if you are a startup, your job is to grow faster, and to grow faster, you will always have to make investments before the money come into your bank accounts. So you will always run loss. So company profitability is not the thing. It's about acquiring customers profitably. Is that whatever you are spending on acquiring a customer plus whatever is customer servicing cost, is there still something left on a customer to customer basis or unit economics basis, as it's called in B2C. So is that there? That is a lot more important.
So you think it's going to be a norm itself? Investments only in such startups, such more sustainable startups, or you think again obviously I'm not counting in scenarios like pandemics coming in the future and impacting exceptional impacts on certain things, but in a normal year on year scenario, do you think this is going to be a straightforward norm of looking to invest in more sustainable companies or startups?
Not really. I think economy as a whole and all the markets move in cycles. So there are always going to be booms and busts. So currently we are in the bust time, but a boom may be around the corner, maybe 1 year, 2 year, 3 year in future, where again the growth at all cost would become more important than the profitability. Now you can't time where you will do startup, where you will grow, where you will do things. You can't time that, but what you can time is your response to the market. You should, as mentioned earlier, you should always have like multiple scenarios in your mind that hey, I'm getting customers, my CAC is currently, let's say 20-30% of LTV. How much funds I have and what's the market looking like. Basis that you can decide to move that CAC from 30% to 60% if it looks like the market is favorable, or you can move it down to 10% if you think that hey, you need to show more profitability. So the way to do things is to have an hypothesis that hey, a very solid hypothesis that hey, I'm doing this thing because these assumptions are there and these conditions are there and these facts are there. That's why my plan is this. If any of that any of those parameters change, you should change your plan, and that's the way to survive the bust and thrive in the booming market.
This is interesting. Okay, perfect. So let's move on. I think this is a fair insights and opinions that you've shared with us related to the scenario with regards to funding right now. So let's move back to Gumlet again, right? Let's deep dive for a few minutes around the business model that you have, right? You mentioned that it's not exactly a SaaS model that you have at the moment. Can you shed some light around what exact model do you have and how is it different from a generic SaaS model that exists?
I would say SaaS is now the traditional way of doing a software business. What happens in because it's been around long, right? It's been
it's also like a B2B SaaS is like a B2B service business also. Like that's how we've started taking non-SaaS clients also now. It's the same. Like at least at the baseline level, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get meetings booked with the target customers, and then the sales team takes over and converts them into a client. You end up either giving them a software, you end up giving them a service. Obviously, at that moment when there is a delivery bit that comes in, then there's a huge differentiation in a service and a software. But till that, at least in the acquisition phase of your customer and how the cycle looks like, it's almost very similar.
I would agree with that. So customer acquisition, especially for Indian companies because Indian service companies have been targeting US before any SaaS company was there in India, right? So they have this bit figured out. We even are able to hire some good folks in sales and marketing from service companies because hey, at the end it is same. Of course, the business changes a lot once the deal closes, so that's entirely different thing. But within SaaS, I think SaaS has been around for more than 25 22 years more. I think I guess at least more than 22 years.
Yeah,
And SaaS is something where usually, traditionally, I mean, I'm talking about the first SaaS like Salesforce and LinkedIn and all, who would sign a yearly contract with you based on which is a fixed yearly contract or a seat based rate that they would close with you for a year. Now within that year, what is the whether the every seat utilizes it maximum or minimum does not matter. What's the value you are getting out of it? So I'll give you an example. So let's consider there are two SaaS companies who are selling to US. Now one SaaS company has let's say 1,000 companies in their LinkedIn audience in their US target market, and there is another SaaS companies that has 10,000 LinkedIn audience in their market, and let's say both have a similar range of sales reps who are going to use the LinkedIn Sales Navigator to reach out to the customers. Obviously, I mean, the value for the 10,000 size market company is going to be more, but per seat rate is going to be almost similar. And that's the reason the 1,000 target market company might not buy Sales Navigator, because they think spending this much per seat is prohibitive for us. Very crude example, but that's what happens in the traditional SaaS, where either seat base is there or license based pricing is there. Nowadays, what is happening is that pricing is moving more towards value-based things. To give an example, in Gumlet, you would be charged on every time a video is delivered. You will be charged on every time an image is viewed by your end users. So let's say you have an audience of 10 million, your bill will be that much higher. Let's say you have an audience of 10,000, your bill will be lower. There is very less fixed commitment or any kind of yearly binding to customers in that. Of course, even we have yearly contracts at times, even we have yearly plans, but those plans are providing additional discount over the base pricing, which is value based. So these days usage based pricing is there. I'm sure, I mean, look at ChatGPT's pricing, right? They are not asking based on how much number of chats you are doing and those things. Their pricing is very unique. It's based on the number of tokens stored in their GPT system. So pricing is moving much more closer to value, because you just imagine that's how HubSpot is able to win this big of a market, right? They have 5 different plans that are transparent, that a person can look at and understand that, hey, I have this much audience, this plan is right for me. I have this much audience, this plan is right for me. As I grow, my pricing will go. Versus something like Salesforce, where before a certain minimum amount you can't even enter the discussion. So the pricing is moving much more towards value, closer to value. How much you are going to use, how much value you will get out of, that's much you will pay. And it's an opportunity for new SaaS companies also. If you can figure out, hey, this is where our clients are going to generate money or revenue or profitability or whatever is that your product is generating for them. This is the specific instance at which they will generate the revenue. Charge for that instance, rather and keep rest of your service free. And that's that will help you win clients a lot faster. Gumlet does not charge for optimization to anyone. We do it better than anyone else in the market, but we don't charge for optimization. We charge
Right.
for only when your end customer views your media file, and that helps us a lot.
So I think this is, hearing this, I can simply connect it to the performance based, in the service sector, the performance based, or on the output based pricing models that a lot of consultancies or agencies have had. I think it's very similar to that. You deliver a certain output and you charge on that, right? But what is more interesting, how this is much better, is that you're actually, as very that is a, I think, a key important point that you mentioned. You're charging when they're earning money, right? So that I think is very interesting, is a very interesting model. So your competitors, do they also charge, do they also have a similar kind of pricing model, or this is something that you can say as like something different that you've done in this way?
They have similar, but they have more, I would say, hurdles or excesses of pricing. So, an example. So, let's say you have plan A, plan B, and there are 3 things which are limited in plan A, and only 2 things limited in plan B, and then higher plan only has limit on one thing. That kind of scale up that is very traditional in SaaS, versus what I was talking about, the usage based pricing kind of thing in Gumlet, is where in all plans there is only one thing which is parameter on which you are charged, instead of having multiple parameters on which you are charged. There's only one parameter in which you are charged. That charge includes whatever will be there in other parameters, except some few very niche kind of features that only few people will need, and then the cost of that high, we charge them additionally. But then what we charge for those features is also same for all of our ABC plans. Pricing is simple, whether you are small business, medium-sized business, or large business. Gumlet will charge you on 1 or 2 parameters max. Whereas outside in the market, this goes up to 4, 5, 6. Everything is limited. At times, number of users are limited. The number of images or videos uploaded are limited. So on and so forth. So that's the difference.
So this way you can, So this way you can also target the entire market that you have, that you're catering to, probably, right from the smallest of the players to the biggest of the probably the enterprises. You can target all of them, and all of them can use your product, and there's a percentage of revenue that you earn out of these kind of businesses. This is very, very smart, I suppose. Awesome. So let's move. So about the product Gumlet, right? That you talked about, right? There are certain features that altogether you perform, and you charge one bit certain amount on the final output that you deliver, and all of the features function behind that. How has this product development journey been? Because whenever I talk to founders, I think in the early stages specifically, founders have this, they're either looking at sales or they're looking at product development, right? So this is obviously one of the very core aspects of starting growing a business. So how has the product development cycle looked for you? What were the main barriers that you faced initially and during your journey? And also, let's go back to the point that you mentioned, right? How did video optimization come into picture?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start from the end and go further. So again, product development also is very hypothesis driven. When we built image optimization, the very first product that we ever built, we built it because of this hypothesis that back when the open source library was written, websites would have 3 versions of an image: one thumbnail version, one medium-sized version, and one large version. And that was working because all the laptops were standard size, all the mobile were same size, and things were working fine. But what we realized in 2019, 2020 is that bit is no longer true. like within every iPhone, the screen resolution changes, and for image or video to look of same quality, it needs to be different resolution in all of those devices. And to do that, the front end engineer has to spend a lot of effort writing logic that, hey, this size deliver, if this is a screen size, deliver this image size, this is screen size, deliver this resolution of video, so on and so forth. And that was just not going to be practical. So the effect of that was that nobody was optimizing the image. That was one hypothesis, that hey, there is room because the whole process is complex and nobody is going to do it manually. So there was room for automation there. Another good market trend was that Google was prioritizing your page load speed on mobile. This was that was an important factor coming in. So that was a sort of boost of why we could reach out to customer and talk with them. Those were the initial assumptions that were there. And based on that, we built a product which would automate this entire process of figuring out the size of the device and delivering the right size of media file to that device. The entire pipeline was automated. And that tied into our first set of customers. We pitched and sold to internet first companies first, because we knew that they have very good tech teams. Their CTOs will appreciate the coolness of what we have built. They would be interested in talking with us, and that's how we chose our initial first customer. From those first customer, we understood that, hey, this pain point is validated. We didn't have to spend a lot of time or money on going to industry events or spending months going to offices of big conglomerates and corporates. None of that happened. In a 1 or 2 meetings, sometime online, maybe once in person, the deal would close, because they understand that this is not their business domain. They are building a news website, or they are building an e-commerce website, and they understood importance of being ranked in Google search, all of those things. So we chose the market to sell to based on this. After some time, we figured out that, hey, another important benefit for big companies is that it reduces the cost of it reduces the CDN cost for the customer. And once we unlocked that, then we were able to reach out to more traditional businesses who are big team, because they wouldn't care about developer productivity. They have a huge developer team. They have huge developer sprints and plans and all of those things. Unless you are affecting their top line or bottom line, big businesses wouldn't move towards buying your product. So now we have that, and we built tools around showing that value, and we started doing that. And yeah, then it was very simple. I think early 2020, late 2020 somewhere, our customers started telling us that, hey, you have solved video for us, images for us, and we really love the way you have solved the whole problem, and we want you to solve the video problem for us as well, which is 10x more complex. And that's where we started. Based on the customer feedback, we started building a solution for video, and it was 10x more complex, because it took us more than a year to build a final product. We are still in the process of building it, but there we had we again went through the process of hypothesizing different things, that, hey, this is first hypothesis, second hypothesis, third hypothesis. Based on the hypothesis, we would build product. It's not that necessary that you are always right. Along the process, we were wrong a couple of times. one example I can share is we over-indexed on education tech market, and as soon as schools open in last year, there was a huge downturn in that, which affected us. But hey, this process is at least we know that it's not because it was not because of some other factor. We are very much sure that okay, whatever the slowdown in growth happened, or whatever features were missing in our product was not because we don't understand the market, or not because we took wrong decisions. Our decisions were right. The hypothesis themselves, the assumptions of the things were wrong. So now we pick up next things, better hypothesis, better assumptions, and start working on that. So that's how it is.
I think you beautifully defined the process. What is more amazing is to find out that you followed the ideal way, right? This is probably the ideal way to an incremental decision making based on testing and validating your hypothesis. I think this is not just can make out that whatever decisions, business decisions, be it marketing or product, or even hiring people, right? I think you follow a similar kind of approach, right? You there are certain scenarios that could possibly happen. You try to bet on them, and it either comes out true or falls. Right. So I think this is very, very smart, and I think I'm sure this has been one of the reasons you guys have been very, very successful so far, and I hope this continues. Last two questions that I have for you. One is, you mentioned about I'm going to pick that up. ChatGPT, right? It's the talk of the hour. Everybody's talking about ChatGPT, AutoGPT, and whatnot. How does Gumlet get impacted specifically with ChatGPT? Is there anything or any direction that, or internal meetings that probably have started happening where you're discussing any possibilities? Obviously, I won't ask for details, but yeah, is it something that is also impacting you as a company?
So I mean, ChatGPT specifically does not come directly into our business model, because it's text and we mostly deal in image and video. Other image and video generation softwares, we have some plans for them. However, we have started using it for content generation and marketing copy, and that improves productivity. Our developers have started using GitHub Copilot. That improves productivity. So wherever we can improve productivity, we are going into that. And I think more broader level impact of this whole AI revolution would be that there will be many more small size businesses, because earlier, writing good copy, or creating good visuals, or recording really good videos was a art and craft, and there were very few people. Even though there are like thousands of freelancers on Fiverr, only few would make a really good design for you. Only few would do really good voiceover for you, or only few would be able to edit the video to a quality which will get you good amount of money from any business that you are doing. But now that
these people charge hefty amounts as well.
Yeah, exactly. So there is scarcity, there is high cost, and there is time also, because the number of people is finite, so they are not going to do everyone's work. And now all of those three constraints will go away. So people who were thinking of doing a side project while working at a big company, and just were not doing it because it was just too hard, too many things to tackle, would be able to do it now, and would be able to reach that kind of ramen profitability that they quit their job and start working on this. So my personal prediction is that this would lead to a lot more SMBs out there in the world, and lot more small team driven solopreneur kind of businesses. And that's good. I mean, I don't see number of enterprise growing because of this. To be honest, if anything, there will be consolidation and reduction in that.
Absolutely.
And if you look into the whole capitalist theory, that's the future that is predicted, that everyone is working for themselves, because that's what maximizes the profits in long run. So that's the idea.
Amazing. So by any chance, in the wildest or in the worst of the cases, do you also fear this kind of a thing? This kind of AI revolution that is happening in any manner. It could. For example, I get this feeling, that we're going to lose. There's going to be people going to lose jobs. Obviously, there's an another side of it which you just mentioned, right? More solopreneurs coming in. So, what are your thoughts? Do you have any kind of fear around it?
Yeah, frankly, no opinions. It's just about waiting and seeing what will happen. As is the current capabilities, this will be the impact that I think. Obviously, people who are not able to generate graphics or copy as good as AI will have to improve their skills or start using AI at the back end. Either of that. So that's that. So I mean, it's very hard to predict. I don't. See, even AI innovation is happening in cycles. So we were there when the previous AI boom was there, and there were a lot more investment suddenly, and the whole thing grew very fast, and there were companies competing, and at the end, I think everybody fell short of the promise that they were going to deliver to, and then there was this AI winter. Now again there is new technology, and because of that again same thing is happening. So there is it's a very well studied, very well known cycle. So I mean, we'll see. I don't think this cycle's peak is where AI will take over humans. It's not going to happen in this cycle. Maybe it can happen couple of cycles down the line. Nobody had predicted ChatGPT. So something like that might come. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to take your last couple of minutes. It's been wonderful talking to you, but I cannot let you go before you share some, words around how Growthspree has played a role in Gumlet's journey over the past, I think, almost 2 years now.
Yeah. So it's been, very important role, I would say. So all of this talk I mentioned about, speaking with other entrepreneurs and their managers and learning how to do things. All of that is after Growthspree. The first, we were a bootstrap startup, very small, 10 people team, and we got funding. The first bit of marketing where we had not run an ad campaign yet, or where we had no idea how to manage the LinkedIn or social media, or how to run an ABM campaign. None of that. When we knew that, that's where Growthspree came in, and it wasn't like that. Hey, we found Growthspree and we locked in, right? We had evaluated, I think, close to 10 agencies. We even did trial run with 2-3 others, and no one was able to adopt to what we wanted to do. You mentioned that earlier, right? Everyone does the same thing at the base, but there is adoption that needs to be done. for every business, and Growthspree adopted phenomenally with what we were doing, and really appreciate Ishan and you and your team for that, because our product is hard, right? We hire someone in sales and marketing with all the resources we have, with daily checkups and everything. It still takes us a good 45 days to 1.5 months to get people up to the speed so that they can understand and sell or market Gumlet in any possible way. And hey, that was a tough task, and you guys did it wonderfully, and always having deliver everything on time, bringing in new ideas that you guys should do this, you guys should do that, and that actually helped us and pushed us into the direction. And we were a very sales driven organization. Most of our revenue was coming from sales and sales only, and because we got Growthspree early, we were able to start building the inbound, and now inbound contributes a very significant portion of our new monthly revenue. And we hope to keep it growing with Growthspree.
We hope so too. Thank you so much, Divyeshs. I've gotten goosebumps. I think this is probably the first time I've ever heard anyone talk about Growthspree or give that. We've been trying to get video testimonials from so many people, and that's one of the reasons we started a podcast, so that at least we'll get those video testimonials out of it. But it actually is. I'm feeling really, really wonderful, and I thank destiny or whatever made it happen that we came across each other, and I hope to continue working with Gumlet and be a part and keep adding value to help Gumlet in grow month on month, year on year, and to greater heights always. Thank you so much, Divyesh. And with regards to the podcast, I think you've given some amazing tips and amazing insights into your journey with Gumlet and how things should be done in the ideal fashion. I think you've been very smart, is what I could understand in the decisions that you've taken, in the way you've approached growth in business. And thank you so much for sharing all of these things. I think I personally have learned a lot. I'm sure whosoever is going to be watching this podcast is going to learn immensely from what your thoughts, your opinions, and your insights have been. Thank you so much for that. And I've taken more than just an hour of your time, so thank you for that as well. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ishan. Always a pleasure. And as I mentioned, we hope to continue working with Growthspree and grow together. I would just add this, that hey, we got lucky. We made the smart decision, and we made wrong choices also. Only thing important is to know what is the reality, see it as it is.
Yes.
And react to it appropriately.
Absolutely.
So
when I say smart, I feel that you've been very smart is here only, that you will make mistakes, you will time and again, but when you are a smart individual and you're in a smart business, you understand and you take learnings from wherever you've been wrong, so that you can accommodate and adopt to and make better decisions in the future. So I think that's something that I could encourage, how the entire Gumlet journey, right from probably 2015, 16 till 2023 has been with you, Aditya, and now a big team. So guys, if you're watching this and if you want to check out Gumlet, you can visit their website, gumlet.com, and you can check out and find Divyesh, Aditya on LinkedIn as well. And thank you once again, Divyesh. It was wonderful once again, and I will see you very soon in Bangalore.
Sure. Looking forward to that. Great speaking with you. Pleasure.